Hello, brethren and guests, and welcome to the District 8 Freemasons of Washington Roundtable discussion, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. It is important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of the Grand Lodge of Washington, our respective craft, or any concordant bodies. All right, welcome back to the District 8 Roundtable. This week we're having an open forum discussion with the Junior Grand Warden. I appreciate all of you coming, and just so that you're aware, this meeting tonight will be recorded for future information for myself. And with that, again, I just wanted to have an open discussion. We can talk about any subject that you want to talk about, how you want to see things go in the future for our fraternity, things that are going on right now. There's a lot of turmoil going on right now. I understand that and how it affects Masons and Masonry. And so I just want to kind of do this. I'm hoping to do this once a month at least, and just kind of keep in touch with the jurisdiction and kind of help guide me on things that I need to focus on. So with that, I can open it up if anybody wants to start with a subject or a question, or unmute yourself or raise your hand, or however you want to do it. That's up to you.
Well, I'll start if you'd like.
Okay, Jay.
I'd like to see more Masonic opportunities, not necessarily leadership retreats as they've been. How do I put this? I'm not trying to sound like I'm bashing anything when I say what I'm about to say, so please don't take it that way. We pay Grand Lodge a decent amount of money per lodge for our assessments. And I know that Grand Lodge has resources, an education committee out there. But any training or any true education experience we have to pay for. It would be nice, if nothing else, we get some Zoom stuff set up with different like De Hoyos or Juan Sepulveda, or even John Nagy, like we've been doing down here in District 23. Is there any chance of stuff like that happening at a Grand Lodge level without it costing the brothers extra?
I think there's a very good chance of that happening. I know that the Grand Secretary has had open forums on Zoom with his, Stump the Chump, as he called it, Stump the Grand Secretary. I know that there are other districts, not necessarily Grand Lodge level, but I know District 13 does at least 2 a month where they're doing education. I know that you're doing it. And I think that we need to figure out a way to spread that information around, because if you don't know that some of these other districts or some of the, even the Grand Lodge are doing these things, then of course you can't connect and it's not doing you any good. So I do think that the possibility is there. I do think that there's more and more of us that are going to continue to do this kind of thing. You just got to figure out a way to get the message out, because you can't really send it out in Facebook, because then you get people that are not Masons, and you'll start getting problems with, people wanting to crash the meetings and things like that. So
right.
So it's a slippery slope but I definitely envision seeing more and more of this.
The reason I ask, because even like what you're talking about with, I think yours was the first one I heard about, the weekly meetings, and but it's like the districts are developing their own wheel instead of all of us having a common wheel, or And you know, I've reached out to the Facebook pages that I know, you know, like Columbia Basin Columbia Basin Freemasons and Friends, District 13 Masons, District 27, you know, and telling them about the things that we're doing, and tell them, you know, hey, email me, because I'm not going to put that link on there, like you said. But you know, the last one was open for anybody that wanted it. So if somebody had a candidate that wanted to learn a little something, they could have been there. You were there. You remember what it was like. The next one we're going to do is the staircase one. And it's only open to fellow crafts and master masons. So, you know, this way we can regulate a little bit, and I will get that information to you. But
Okay.
it just, you guys at a Grand Lodge level have access to so much more than I do at this level, even by the name. You know, hey, I'm Jay, I'm a Mason in Washington. Hey, this is Grand Lodge of Washington reaching out. Would you mind doing a seminar? You know, it's a big difference.
Okay.
I've got something.
Yeah.
Is Grand Lodge in touch with other jurisdictions as far as opening up communications as far as these Zoom meetings are concerned? And also, I think Grandview would be a great place to post all these Zoom meetings that are happening, because I know I quite enjoy them. And actually, I don't even know how to get, with the Grandview, for some reason, I can't get to, let's say, Washington Masonic Charities. Like, where do I find that at? Because I know once I get to that, then I can see more information on Grand Lodge officers, such as the Grand Master's message and also the messages of past Grand Masters. That's kind of a two-sided question there.
So as far as communicating with other Grand Lodges, I don't think that kind of, you mean about these kind of events and things like that, or events that they're doing?
Well, I'm sure that every jurisdiction is probably going through the same situation we're going through. As brothers want to be able to communicate with each other. And why not? This is a good way to bridge the gap instead of us being isolated. I mean, we're all brothers, so why not be able to join in some of their meetings if that's an opportunity?
I do know, again, I've heard of California Grand Lodge. I've heard of some of the events that they've done. I haven't had the opportunity yet to join any of those, but I don't think there's a good communication path yet. This is all new territory, and I think that people like myself, you know, as much as I want to see a whole bunch of people on these Zoom calls, I also don't want it to be, you know, all the weirdos that we see on Facebook sometimes. So you have to kind of play it careful and not make it too public. You know what I mean? So I'll talk with Clint about that and see if there's a way that we can use Grandview to try to leverage that communication a little bit better. And then what was the second part of that?
I can't find where to get to the Grand Master's message on Grandview. And I know there's a lot more material on Grandview. I was there, but now for some reason I can't find it. And I'm just curious how to get to the past Grand Master's messages. Like if I want to do some research on what a Grand Master said years or decades ago, they have messages. And is that on Grandview somewhere?
You know, honestly, I don't know, but I will find out. I think it's on, I think they have links to it from the website, not from Grandview, but I don't know that for sure.
They're
Well,
still
Barry,
alive.
you've been messing around with Grandview a lot. Do you see the past Grandmasters messages on there?
No, I haven't. Most of that from my research is all on the Grand Lodge webpage.
Okay.
Grandview is great for Grand Lodge sending messages out to everyone who has an email address listed. And you can go on there and see the current messages. At least they pop up. I'm logging in right now, as a matter of fact, just so we can answer. But the majority of what you're talking about, Michael, is on the webpage itself. And you mentioned Washington Masonic Charities. You could click on a link there, or just go to WashingtonMasonicCharities.com.
So not through Grandview per se, but to the Washington Masonic Charities website.
Correct.
So my suggestion would be maybe we should put a link to the Grand Lodge of Washington website on Grandview, perhaps.
You know, it's funny. That's not a bad suggestion, because I always think about it the other way around. People are going to the website and then using that link to get to Grandview. But now we're getting to the point where there's enough people using Grandview. Maybe there's people like you that are doing it the opposite way. They want to get back to the website and they're in Grandview and can't. So, yeah.
I am definitely doing it the other way because I've been diligently searching, and I totally forgot that there's a difference between our website and Grandview. So,
All right. Dean?
Yeah, so as a further thought on that, since I'm the editor on the Masonic Tribune, if we start to have links for those particular aspect of what he was looking for.
Okay. So links inside of the Tribune to Grandview, the webpage, Washington Masonic Charities.
Yep.
Cool. Grandmasters messages, past Grandmasters messages. We could probably, yeah. Okay.
so the Masonic Tribune has its own webpage as well.
Well, it is out there on the Grand Lodge website. And so if you're looking for those particular events, and it would be another way of cross-referencing those, since the Tribune now is being published all online, it can very easily have links.
Yeah, one of the things that we're talking about doing, and I'm actually going to try it on the first, my first article in the Tribune is not only having the written article, but also having a video of the same report, so that people that want to watch it can watch it, people that want to read it can read it. So we'll see how that works. Bud.
Yeah, on this idea of communication and sharing, with the COVID thing this summer, our second week of June or third week in June, where we normally have the Strawberry Festival in Marysville, it was canceled. So what we've done is we've got these coins for the lodge. And we had a presentation on that 6 weeks or so ago in the district meeting, showed them. So they were sold for $10. Excuse me. And we ask everybody to give 20 to make up for the money we lost on the not having that. Is there a chance Grand Lodge could share what other lodges are doing in place of their normal fundraising activities? Because of, most everybody has something along the line of the Strawberry Festival where they participate. And we could find out what else is working.
And that one's kind of difficult because, Grand Lodge, a lot of times we don't hear about those.
Well, you could solicit.
We could do that.
Yeah.
Maybe make a share page off of one of the Grandview site or the website,
Yeah.
fundraiser share page type thing,
Yeah.
a blog, if you will, that we all can
Okay.
contribute.
Yeah, you know, it's definitely difficult times, and I know that there are several lodges that are struggling. And if we can come up with good ideas that they can pull off, it helps them get stronger and helps the Grand Lodge get stronger. So yeah, I'll talk to Clint about that one too.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Well, doing a little expansion on that. If Grand Lodge had a Twitter account, people could subscribe to it, and then any posts would be sent out to the subscribers on Twitter.
And Grand Lodge, to my understanding, does have a Twitter account. I don't, but so does Twitter have the same issues with Facebook as far as no privacy and
I don't
Well,
know.
Considering Twitter just got hacked by somebody, they hacked Obama, they hacked Bill Gates, they hacked a whole bunch of people, well-known profiles. That kind of answers the question.
Yeah, Obama sending out messages to send Bitcoin, and then what was Jeff Bezos, and yeah, oh God. All right. So another question that comes up a lot that came up actually before the meeting started was getting back to meetings and how that's going. And it's a tough road, because we've got to think about the fact that our average member is 67 years old, and we can't rush back into opening up meetings and getting back together. So one of the things we thought about and we've talked about at the Grand Lodge level is, if you have a lodge that's in a county that's in phase 3 and they can meet with 50 or people or more, why not let them open up? Well, because what if the county right next door is in phase 1? How do you not allow brothers from the phase 1 county to go into the phase 3 county and go to the meeting? So you're putting it at risk, and it's just at this point that the Grand Lodge team, the electeds, have decided that that's not a risk that we're willing to take, and so therefore the Grand Master is still keeping it shut down for now until things change. And we were close to coming up with something, and then everything started going backwards on, so numbers started going up again, and it is a hard thing to try to figure out what the best time to do that is, because, again, I miss seeing everybody face to face and being with people just like everybody else, but I also don't want to risk, being the cause of somebody not being able to come to the next meeting because they're on a ventilator.
When you guys are going through the talks among yourselves about this and when and how to do it, have you reached out to other jurisdictions like Oregon who has started meeting, no matter, and I can go down there, they don't care, what they do care is, number one, you got to wear a mask, and number two, they have hand sanitizer ready. And so you're using the hand sanitizer and you're wearing the mask the whole meeting, and they limit the amount of people to, I think, 25. Oregon's in the same shape we are as far as some counties are here, some counties are there as opening. But have you guys talked to the other jurisdictions that are opening and finding out how that's, now Oregon has sent out an edict that they will not allow any degree work to be done because you can't social distance until they figure that out. they're not, but they can have their regular stated meetings and such.
And we have been in communication with other jurisdictions. We have been following what they're doing. They're watching what we're doing. The Grand Secretary is pretty much constantly communicating with some of the other close jurisdictions, and again, it's just every Grand Lodge is going to have their own way of thinking about it. And currently our view is that it's just not worth the risk to open it back up.
Okay. Yeah, I was just, I asked one of the brothers in Oregon the other day, because they just went back. The governor said no social functions with more than 10 people. Like, does that affect you guys? How does that affect you guys? And he said, well, I was just talking to the Grand Master and it doesn't. Okay. We're one of those fraternities that's certainly social, but it's not social.
Yeah. And an analogy that I use, that it's a horrible one, really, but I don't want to be, everybody in the state, I think, has heard about that one church that had their choir get together, and they had like 50 people in this choir. And of those 50 people, I think 42 of them came down with COVID-19 because of one person. And I personally, I don't want to be that Masonic lodge that let everybody come together, and out of the 50 people that showed up, 40 of them got COVID.
Right.
It's again, the health and safety of my brothers is not worth it to that extent right now for me.
Well, I know we've talked, and even when Grand Lodge does allow us to meet again, we're forcing people to sit in the north, because we're going to tape off seats. We're going to, every other seat's going to be available. So, it's going to force people where they normally, everybody goes into a lodge and goes to the south and sits by the junior warden because he's cool. But now they're going to be forced, because even when we'll never go back to normal, I don't think. There'll be a new normal in the States. And part of that's going to be a little bit of social distancing, even among us.
Yeah, and we do have we've developed a checklist for when we do open back up. The checklist of the temperature, the hand sanitizer, the masks, the making sure that any of your loaner aprons that you have in the lodge room, they get washed after every meeting. And that was something that honestly I never really thought about before, about the fact that those aprons don't get washed very often in most lodges. And we've those are like not washing your menus.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of germs on those things.
And another item that people don't really think about is those marbles that we, because everybody's using them, fingering them.
Yeah, the balloting.
Yep.
That's not on the list, but I will make sure it gets on there.
We've gone so far as to purchase, and it'll be their responsibility to wash them, but gloves for the senior deacon and gloves for the marshal, because they're the ones who at one point or another touch another brother. If the senior deacon's leading somebody to be escorting somebody to be introduced, or the marshal's escorting the chaplain, they're the ones doing it. So we bought them, the nice white gloves and it's theirs. They have to take them home and wash them, and it's up to them to do it. So that'll cut down some too.
Yeah. I was going to say, was it the white leather gloves or the white cloth gloves, or are they plastic?
They're cloth.
What's that?
They're the cloth ones, definitely.
Cloth ones. Okay. Yeah. Cause you get the rubber gloves, then you got to start worrying about latex allergies and all that. So.
Right. And that's why we figured the cloth gloves, it's like wearing a cloth mask. Okay. Yep. It's more there for your protection. It's not 100%, but it's better than nothing. And generally you're going to be cloth on cloth. So your chances of contracting anything are very minimal. And if you don't put that cloth up in your hand, you go wash your hands when you take your hands out of your gloves, you'll be fine. And then you wash the gloves on a regular basis, your suit or t-shirt or whatever that you have on. So,
And also, just so I don't forget later, that next Tuesday, Grand Lodge is having something very similar to this, only it will be with the Grand Master and all the elected lines, just kind of an open forum to discuss this kind of thing. You know, how do we get back to Lodge? How do we, just how are we going to do elections? How are we going to do installations? And we want input from you guys on that kind of thing, so we can make the best decision for the fraternity.
now, I know this is more for next week than tonight, but since you're here and I'm here, if it's too late for the lodges here, but some of the lodges meet all summer that elect during the summer, would it be terribly impossible for the 3 main and the 3 main only to go open a lodge, get it open, then turn Zoom on and let their members elect like Grand Lodge did, and then schedule the installation at a later date, because they got until January 31st. Would that be a terrible
Yeah,
thing to?
it's exactly what we're looking at. That, because even in phase 1, you're allowed up to 5 people. So if you did just the 3 principal officers, like you say, they go in, what you're going to run into then, of course, is it has to be in a lodge that has internet connectivity.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is that. We have definitely talked about that, and that's definitely one of the directions we've looked at going if this continues on, if the closures and we don't get better phases. So yeah, it's definitely something we have talked about and are exploring the real possibility of doing it that way.
Well, I just felt that if you got them elected, they can wait on the installation, but even if they had to have it because January 31st was approaching, still going with the 5, you could install your 3 main with 4 people. You're
Right.
just have the installing master and everybody just present themselves instead of having the whole accompaniment of an installing master and installing marshal and so on and so forth. You can just do it with 4. I mean, it's not pretty, but it can be done.
Right. Or like we did at Grand Lodge, where you have, the marshal and the chaplain is the same guy.
Right.
And then you got the installing master and the installing secretary. And then the marshal brings in all the electeds one at a time. So you're never having more than 5 in the room at once.
Right.
And then you get all your electeds installed. Then you'd have to figure out how to do the appointeds at some later date or something.
Well, now in the state of Washington, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the only one that's really important to get installed is the master of a lodge, right? If you had to. I mean, if push came to shove, all you really had to do was install a master. He could in turn turn around and install his line later.
Yeah. And if push comes to shove, I believe there's something in the code. I'll have to look, but I believe there's something in the code that says that, if there's no one to take their place, they have to stay. So
This is true too. And you don't even need that in there. I mean, a guy can serve 10 years as master if the lodge wanted him to.
Yeah.
But he does have to be installed every year.
and that is another thing that we've discussed and kind of kicked around is allowing lodges to just leave their officers in place for another year. We still have to we still have to do something to satisfy the code. So we're still
Right.
working on those details, but
I
you know,
would,
there's,
and again, I'm sorry. I know this isn't a conversation for tonight. It would probably be for next Tuesday. But I would think that you would still have to vote, even if you're leaving people in place. You would still have to vote. But so far as installing, like I was saying, I think the master is the only one that absolutely has to be installed by January 31st. So you could really get by with 3 people, 4 people doing that if you wanted. And at a later date when they could meet, he could always install his officers himself. Or they could, you know, if we get to meeting status, they could have a full-on installation. He
Right.
just doesn't have to be installed.
Yep. Yeah, and that's, you know, if we get to the point where we can open back up, then we can do installations and keep them closed so that
Right.
it's only the officers of the lodge, to keep the numbers down. But yeah, there's a lot of things up in the air that, and we're talking about all the different scenarios and trying to make the best decision we can.
Yeah. I don't envy your guys' position. I mean, it's a tough call.
Well, I expected, you know, to get elected junior grand warden and then just have this whirlwind of activities and this whirlwind of things that I had to go to, and it just hasn't happened yet.
Easy year or bad year for you, I don't know which.
Let me ease into it. That's what.
There you go. Now, are they going to do? Because I know that our deputy told us our district meeting was scheduled for September 11th. If we're not meeting in lodge by that time, are we going to do those by Zoom?
I know that the final 3 or 4 district meetings last year were Zoom. So we haven't actually, I personally have not talked yet with the Grand Master about that. But that would be, he's either going to have to move them into the spring, or he's going to have to try to do them via Zoom. That's, we haven't talked about that yet, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay, I got an answer.
Yeah. We'll see, buddy. Anyway, so these are unprecedented times that we're in, and our fraternity has been dealing with a decline in membership for quite some time. I know it's not all districts, but I mean just the fraternity as a whole. Now, because this is an unprecedented time, is there going to be maybe some unprecedented things that Grand Lodge may be thinking about doing in order for us to at least proceed?
Yeah, well, you know, I think that by unprecedented, you know, I think the fact that we're even talking about having meetings opened up in lodge by 3 officers and then opening up the regular meeting to members via Zoom, possibly, that's something that we're talking about. To me, that's pretty unprecedented. I think that getting the word out about these kind of things and making sure that our candidates or our potential members can be involved in these as well, you know, and making sure that we get as much information to those candidates and to those potential candidates as we can so that we don't lose them. You know, the other thing that we've talked about is, you know, one of the things is we've said that you cannot do esoteric work over Zoom unless it's one-on-one. You know, you and I could get together, we can both confirm that we're in a secure place for instruction, and we can go over the esoteric work. But the other part of that is, you know, as long as you're practicing social distancing, as long as you're practicing everything that the county says you have to do, there's nothing that prevents you from having 3 or 4 brothers over to your house for a barbecue or whatever, and going over the esoteric work, as long as you are comfortable that it's as secure as it can be. So those are other things that we can do. I don't know about unprecedented, but those are some of the things we've talked about.
Okay, and then also, what about the Grand Lodge officers possibly rotating Zoom meetings like one per week? I'm sure everyone would like to hear from the Grand Master, hear from the Deputy Grand Master. What's the chances of them actually holding Zoom meetings on their own or actually hosting it?
I think we have a call tomorrow. I'll ask them why they don't.
Hey, as Grandmaster, can you do me a favor and write an edict when you get to Grandmaster, write an edict that Michael Burton has to move to District 23 and join Benton Lodge? Because I'd love to have him doing hear his speaking voice doing the lectures and such.
Yeah, I think I told him before I could listen to him read the phone book.
No kidding.
I don't think my wife will let me leave.
Well,
She
you
doesn't.
can bring her.
Yeah, she's getting ready to get a promotion, so I think it's gonna have to. We're gonna have to wait a few years on that one.
I'll give you an extra $5 a week.
Oh, can I get that in writing? No.
Absolutely.
Well, and if Michael moves anywhere, he's moving over to Snohomish County to District 8 because, well, we're just cool.
Did I hear $10 extra?
I'll give you $5 a Lodge coin and a Lodge pin. How's that?
I'll feed him Foley's world famous tacos once a month.
Now my wife will like that.
Oh, there you go, buddy.
We have food at every meeting.
And at this point, the Junior Grand Warden asks himself, and when did you lose control of your meeting?
Just now.
Everybody wants Michael's speaking voice. I can't help it.
Yeah.
So, Right Worshipful, can I bring up a previous topic?
Absolutely.
As far as Grandview, so when Michael was asking those questions and stuff, I was going online, and I went to the Grand Lodge website, checked out there. That's where your videos are at, your public information, and just all that good stuff there. And then you could go to Grandview from there once you log in. Now, in Grandview, I don't know if you've really played with it, but if you're a secretary or lodge officer, you really need to go on this, because if you hit the menu tab, it scrolls down and you can look at, your profile. There's a category for resources, and that has your new candidate education questions and exams, various forms, but a lot of just new candidate stuff, masturbation stuff. And then under feeds is where the Grand Lodge puts all their messages. So like Clint just sent one out today. You can see that on there. And, then your lodge itself could do its own postings on there. So anyone in the lodge could see those same postings, as well as send them out via the email clip. But for your past Grandmaster videos that you were talking about and things like that, that's on the web page itself. And I tried getting back to the web page from Grandview, and it just opens up another page in Grandview.
Okay.
So there's no link there that I found. And after talking with our Grand Secretary earlier this week, I had some questions about Grandview, and he said they are looking at putting like the proficiency in lodge management under the exams category. There's a Masonic exams category or menu option there. So they're looking at putting that there, which is a great thing. I brought up deputies can't just send out a district-wide email. And, so there's things like that. But I hope that answers your question, Michael.
Oh, yes, thank you. Well, now that last part you said that deputies cannot send out a district-wide email?
Not through Grandview, not yet.
Okay, now I understand.
I've been trying.
Beyond
Michael,
that,
hey, is there something you haven't told me about?
beyond that, the worshipful master can get a hold of, I think, Clint, and designate anybody in the lodge to have the same access as the secretary. So, Michael, might want to talk to your worshipful master and have him make a call, and then you'd be able to go in and get these things yourself. Or you could become secretary.
Well, or he's deputy. He has access, that same access to every lodge in his district.
I did see that part, the district part.
Yeah, the first time you log into Grandview as a deputy, and everything all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what's all this?
Yes.
Oh, can I backtrack for a minute? I think Brother Jay was talking about there's a way to advertise these Zoom meetings. Can we get Grandview to put it under the seminars section? Or district Zoom?
We've talked about that. I've talked about that with the Grand Secretary, and I think that there's either we don't quite understand how to do it or it doesn't quite work. But yeah, well, I'll see if I can find a way to do it because there's a calendar on Grandview, and if people send information, I'm sure that we can put it in the calendar on Grandview. So there has to be a way for people that are looking for this kind of thing. There has to be a way to let them know, because I send it out when I do our District 8 ones. I send it out to all of the elected and appointed Grand Lodge officers. I send it out to all of the deputies, and I send it out to the SLOC. And then it's kind of up to them to send it out to, you tell two friends and you tell two friends. And so that's the only way that I've been able to do it, but there's got to be a better way.
Well, we've got there's people who will go out and search for information. The better way is to push information. I'm awful lazy. And if it shows up in my email, I'll see it. But if I have to go to the Grand Lodge website every other day, I'm not going to do it.
Right. So, and maybe that's where, like Dean was saying, that we could get it into the Tribune, then at least it goes out quarterly. Or, there's also the Grand Lodge Messenger that goes out. Is that weekly or monthly? Or I'm elected, you'd think I'd know that, but
I think
Monthly.
monthly. Yeah. Okay. So we need to, but again, if we don't get the information from the people that are doing it, then we can't push the information out either. So, District 13, I came across theirs. I don't remember how I came across theirs. But it wasn't right in front of me, like you're saying. I had to search for it. So,
Well, Steve, that might be something to talk to the Grand Secretary about, is that if the deputies and or the Grand Secretary or his designee can enter in these events that are sent to him on the calendar, maybe there's a way that once they're on the calendar, that email gets sent out to the brethren.
yeah, I'll see. Larry, I missed the zooming in and zooming out. Can you just roll forward for me? There you go. Thanks. Perfect. Larry got new technology, so now he doesn't have that problem anymore.
And, I was just talking to a brother who moved up here from California, and he's looking to affiliate in a lodge today. And I invited him tonight, but he couldn't make it tonight. And I said, it's going to be an open forum with our junior grand warden. They're going to record it. He's going to have topics and questions and answers answered. He's going to stop recording. It's going to turn into a chat session and or bang on the deputy. I go, odds are probably bang on the deputy.
Yeah.
He started laughing at that one.
So where does he live?
He's in Everett. He's in Everett, Scott Ross. He knows of Damascus Lodge. I did tell him. but he's in South Everett, and so there's the Everett Lodges, Maryville's Lodges, Edmonds, and Mill Creek, all right, within his grasp.
Yeah.
Thank you for muting him.
I didn't mute him. He muted himself.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Jeez. Such respect.
So,
All right.
Steve,
Any other?
some other things about Grandview as well, or maybe even on the webpage. But things like from our conferences, the guest speakers. As you know, there's been some great guest speakers at the leadership retreat over the last 10 years, and some of those weren't able to be posted so people could watch. Things like that would be great to see. Some of our leadership things. If there's any, because we're talking about how do we build leaders, and we're doing our thing up here with District 8 Resource Team. Do you think that some of that stuff could be published for people to resource if they're looking for this, or
yeah, that is another thing that we have talked about is working with the leadership training and providing some of the training that goes on at the leadership retreat in video format through Grandview. It is something that we're definitely, again, we've talked about it. These are the kind of things that hopefully in the next 4 years I can make some of them happen. But as we all know, we don't want to rush into them because we don't want to put crap out. Because when you put crap out, people just automatically stop doing anything with it, and they won't go back to it even if you improve it. So we want to make sure that we put out a good product before we put out any product. We don't want to put out crap.
Yeah, because it would be great. I've heard some great spills, like Ken Shotwell one time described, or not described, but explained the deacon rods. Yep. Their meetings and why there's the color, why they're the length the way they are. It's about a 10-minute talk, but something like that would be excellent to post up there on Grandview, under resources or feed. So, if you want something in your lodge, here's something that we could view because it's not ritualistic.
Right.
For the most part. And so all the degrees can watch this video. Of course, you won't put the, actual degree work or the ciphered work in video form because then any brother could access it, or depending on, well, then again, there's more long-term range. If you're an apprentice, you can only access an apprentice stuff on Grandview. But that's years down the road. But right. These talks, you've seen, look at that, like Jim's talking the point within a circle. That'd be a great little 10-minute, video to watch just to get the education out there.
Yep. And as you know, that's why we started this.
That's right.
When we couldn't come to Lodge, we wanted to keep the education going, and then of course I hijacked it for this. But
Yeah. It's going to be your will and pleasure if reelected.
All right. Anybody else?
Go on, ask some hard questions.
No,
I got one.
keep throwing the softballs.
If possible, take things like the leadership retreat. In the past, if you lived local, you could get a reduced rate. But it almost seemed like, I hate to use this term, but you had to beg for it. It wasn't just a given. You had to ask permission. Please let us go at a reduced rate. And, I promise I'll go to the banquets. I promise I'll do fellowship with the brothers. Can we not just say, okay, if you live local, you don't have to stay at the hotel, but you're expected to do these things, and not make us beg permission?
Yeah, that's.
If I may, Steve, because I a little bit since I deal with Eastern Star in a similar fashion with their grand sessions. The problem with it is that we go ahead as a Grand Lodge, negotiate rates with the facilities, and those contracts stipulate minimum numbers of dollars that are going to be coming in as a result of these. So thank you, Dorothy. So basically at this point, we have to make sure that we hit these, and these numbers are pretty high. And if people don't contribute, brothers don't contribute to that, we could default on that contract and be responsible for the difference between what they intended, what they expected to pay, and what we actually paid out to them. So
I agree with that on the grand, like going to Grand Lodge, Grand Sessions, and all that. Every year they grant. We've had it in the Tri-Cities a few years. Up in Yakima they did. But every time they'd go ahead and grant the locals, you know, there's no need to spend $250 on the hotel if you live 4 miles from where it's being held. So that every year they do grant the locals, but you have to beg for it. I just don't see where that's that part of it's necessary. You know, I just was hoping there would be a way, you know, hey, if you're local, we understand you don't need a hotel room. But you're expected to go to these other events.
Yeah, and I know that when I was chairman of leadership training, we went through that a lot with you know, the locals not wanting to have to pay the hotel fees, but and I understand that, but the other side of it was, like you say, we didn't want brothers to miss out and not participate in everything that goes on at the leadership retreat. And so I think that was our concern. Not that we wanted to make you beg, but that we wanted to make sure that you got the full experience.
Yeah, and that could be done, you know, sort of up front. You're paying for this. You should be there for this. You don't have to pay for a hotel room if you're local.
And still charge for all the meals and everything, just like everybody else.
Absolutely. Because that's what they've done, you know, in the past. You still pay the price for the retreat itself and all the meals. You just get $175, $200 off the cost of whatever the hotel room would be, and you also get the told you're expected to attend every. Well, just do that up front and don't make the guys have to ask, and that way it's. And also you don't get 30, 40 guys from an area calling in and asking. You know, I mean, it works good on both sides of the picture, I guess.
Okay. To give you my political answer, I will take that under advisement.
You're getting good at that. By the time you're grandmaster, you'll have it perfected.
if reelected.
Oh. All right. Well, anybody?
Oh, and I did do a shameless plug in the chat for the John Nagy thing. So
I did see that, and I was gonna, if nobody else had any questions, I was gonna open it up to announcements. Jay.
I've already done it.
Did everybody
John
see the
Nagy, Saturday the 15th. If you're interested, my email's in the chat. Just shoot me an email. Both mics have already done so, and I will send the link to the chat probably the week. I did it the week of. It was a little easier to find the link that way. But I'll send the link to the chat the week of. But it'll be August 15th, which is a Saturday at 11 o'clock in the morning our time. He's going to be talking on the actual 3 staircases in the Master Mason's Lodge.
Excellent. Just looking at my calendar here. So next week, don't forget on the 21st that the Grand Master and the elected line will be having their Zoom meeting. Again, an open forum, kind of like we're doing tonight, only we really want to know your thoughts about reopening Lodge and elections and installations. We have our ideas. We've talked about them. We want to get a kind of a, as best we can, consensus from the fraternity. So, and that's all I have on my calendar. Anybody else? No? No? All right, so it's that time of the evening, and for those of you that are new, I forgot to send it in the email, but every night when we close, we do a toast to the absent brethren. So if you have your drink, grab a drink. To our absent brethren.
Hey, absent brethren.
And with that, gentlemen, I thank you very much, and I will stop the recording.